This week's Four Questions Journalist Spotlight is brought to you by Leff's Atlanta Media, Atlanta's best journalist database. Subscribe at leffsatlantamedia.com.
Welcome to another edition of our Four Questions Journalist Spotlight. We are talking today with Savannah Louie with CBS46 WGCL here in Atlanta. Good morning, Savannah.
Good morning. It is so good to be here. Thank you for letting me do this. I'm so
absolutely. Yeah, I've been thinking I should do like a Savannah-thon, have like all the Savannahs in media in like 1 week after another. But I probably couldn't coordinate that to get it done. But maybe I'll eventually get them done, and then I'll do like a special down the road, like be like Savannah month or something like that.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not talking about those other Savannahs today. We're talking about Savannah Louie. This is your 25 minutes.
Yes.
Those other Savannahs, they can call me and they can set up their own interviews.
Their own later.
There you go. All right. So Savannah, so you are you're a reporter and weekend anchor with CBS46. Yes. Is that correct? All right. So talk to me about what your schedule is like.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, so this week I'll say it is a little different this week because we're recording this on a Wednesday. Usually I'm working on Wednesdays. I'll anchor the Saturday and Sunday evening newscasts, and then I'll report out in the field on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And I do have to throw in something there. While I am reporting, my technical title is an MMJ, multimedia journalist. So that means on occasion, I'll be the one who's actually shooting, editing, and throwing the whole story together for the afternoon newscasts.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking at your business card here. So I got a card from another reporter recently, and her card said multi-skilled journalist. And I said, is that the new terminology for MMJ? She's like, yeah, that's just what we're calling ourselves this week.
It's a marketing term.
Yeah, multi-skilled journalist. Yeah. It's like, okay, but it's basically you're as you said, you're shooting, you're reporting, you're writing, you're editing, setting up your own lights and your own camera and everything out in the field, right?
Everything all on a super tight deadline, which makes the day always very exciting.
So do you ever get a photographer, or are you always by yourself?
It's funny. So I don't know if you want a little like history lesson.
Sure,
but,
sure.
We were originally, when I joined the team, we were owned by a company called Meredith. This was back in September. And then in December, we were officially bought out by Gray TV. And since that happened, it's been pretty cool. We've gotten a lot more funds, a lot more resources for our station. And so in the past few months, I've noticed I've been able to work with a photographer more often, which personally I love. I think you get better quality when you have two people working on a story versus one person out there trying to set everything up, set up the shot, make sure it sounds good, looks good, and then process what the person's saying. That's a lot to put on one person, right? So when you get the benefit of working with a photographer, a team member, I think it really gives you the opportunity to make a great story out of it.
Yeah, and your live shots, you can be moving, and the photographer can follow you. You can do a little more action that way too. It's unless you've got a remote control on the camera, that's hard to. That's what you need. It's like one of those tracking things, so the camera tracks as you move.
I've got to cut you off there. We don't want to give them any more ideas. In case you can't tell, I'm not really the biggest fan of the one-man band thing.
Yeah. Well, nobody is. Nobody is, but it's funny that it's kind of gone in waves. I mean, 30 years ago, there were lots of one-man bands, and then it kind of went to cruise a lot more, and then I think part of it is technology. As technology, the equipment became easier to use, became a lot lighter. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember first time I saw an MMJ with her gear. I mean, it was packed in a suitcase about this big.
Yeah,
it's like, and instead of having the camera, she had, the camera is about this big.
Yep.
And I said, is that all your stuff? She said, oh yeah, that's it. And she had a light kit in the bag. She had a camera. She had everything, and she set it up in about 10 minutes, and boom, she was good to go.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, when I first got into this industry, my journalism professors would say, oh yeah, you'll have to MMJ in maybe your first or second markets, but by the time you get to the bigger cities, you don't have to. But unfortunately, like you said, the technology is just following us and getting a little better as the years go on. And I'm finding that what I think 3 out of the 4 stations here are using the MMJs. Sorry for my rant.
I was gonna say I'm trying to think who's not.
I don't think WSB is.
You don't think they are?
No, I always feel like when I see them out, I see them with a photog.
With a photog
or duo.
I think some of them are. I guess part of the nice thing is also when you've got the reporters who can do their own equipment, then you can also split it up and send the photogs out to do other things too. So you're kind of doubling your resources that way.
Right.
I mean, I tell you, there's some photographers in town that are so good, they can go out and cover a story and, you don't even realize that there wasn't a reporter there because anchor's reading and whatnot. And somebody else has done all the writing, but they've done they know who to interview. Mm-hmm. They know what questions to ask. They know the video to get. And they're not reporters, but they're really good. So it allows you to spread your resources a little bit more.
Yeah, there are good things about it. I don't want my bosses to watch this and be like, there is a time and a place for MMJs. I'll say that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So you were in San Antonio and St. Louis before here. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I was in St. Louis for 2 years working on the morning show up there. And then before that, I was working in San Antonio. I had an interesting schedule in San Antonio to where I would work on news as a reporter or MMJ, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And the other half of the week was split into, I would work on the entertainment show. And
okay.
Yeah, it was probably one of the most fun jobs I've ever had because I was the girl that would get sent out to the new restaurants and getting to interview the entertainment, maybe shows that would come to town. It was a very fun job. I think there are some reporters in this market who do something pretty similar, but it's something.
There used to be. I mean, for a while, Channel 11 had a full-time entertainment reporter. They cut that off during the pandemic, and that reporter is now at E Entertainment in LA. So there's no one in town that is a dedicated entertainment reporter.
Yeah.
So
crazy because Atlanta's. I mean, we've got it.
I know. It's so if you lobby for that. I mean, we do a lot of entertainment stuff. So if you say, Mitch said he can set me up with stories just about every day. So start with a weekly segment, and then we'll kind of grow it from there. But
I love that.
But between the film and TV, music, and all the esports and gaming stuff that's going on in Georgia, I mean, we were able to keep that Channel 11 folks. We were able to keep them busy almost every day.
I'm sure.
Just with all kinds of story ideas. So I mean, I think as much as the entertainment industry is growing in Georgia, and gosh, with you guys being part of Gray and all that they're doing over in Assembly and all that. I was setting up an interview the other day with one of your producers actually for a film related story for something that's coming out soon. But yeah, I mean, there's so much happening in entertainment. So I'll support you. I'll be your like source. You don't have to tell people. Don't tell people where you tell people it's all you, and I'll just feed you stuff.
I love taking all the credit when it's a good thing.
Yeah. These are all my contacts. Yeah, I'm coming up with all this stuff. They don't have to know. No one has to know. It's just between us.
Exactly.
And the 50 other people that are watching this podcast. Remember that? I don't know if you remember. There was a interview years ago that Connie Chung did with Newt Gingrich's mother. It's like a classic interview where it was on like CBS Evening News, and she's talking to Newt Gingrich's mom, and his mom is like smoking a cigarette, while she's doing the interview. And mom's probably like 80 his mom was like 80 or 85 years old at the time. And Connie Chung she leans forward, says, "Just between us, tell me about Hillary. Just between us." And still recording. Right. And Newt's mom says, "She's a bitch." and of course it was recording, and of course they used that, and it's like I'll just send you that clip. It's like classic. But what's so funny? I mean, this is probably, I don't know, 1990s somewhere in there, and she's like puffing away on the cigarette while she's doing the interview. It's hilarious. Anyway, okay. So talk to me about how do you look at your coverage and what you want to do? And is there a way that you differentiate it from other stations and what other reporters want to do? So, we want to we want to do this kind of reporting as compared to others.
Yeah. So I think that this mindset is actually, I think, going through a lot of different stations across the country right now. And I say that as someone who used to work in St. Louis for Tegna, which is the company that also owns 11 Alive here. So I feel like I have a little insight into what a few different companies are thinking. We are so shifting from that if it bleeds, it leads mentality. There's a lot more focus on community-driven stories. Now, that's not to say that we don't focus on, the crime in Atlanta, because that is important and it does impact the community. But it's finding ways to tell these stories while still making them applicable to the entire community. So let me give you an example. Over the weekend, there was a shooting that happened at a gas station next to a club, and there were like 8 teenagers or early 20-somethings who were shot. In the past, or what I know some stations here did, you might just cover the shooting. Maybe you would try to interview the victims' families and things like that, which, let me say, that's still very important. We want to tell those stories, right? But there's also an element where you have to think, okay, how can I tell this story in a way that more people would maybe feel impacted by it? So when I covered this story on Monday, I made sure I mentioned this ordinance that's going through Atlanta City Council right now. And that ordinance is working to, it would close establishments that have had 2 or more violent incidences within the past 2 years. I thought this was so interesting because right now it's something that's being discussed. It's going to be brought up at their next meeting on August 1st, I believe. But it's something that's going to impact more people than just those who were involved in that one crime. You know what I'm saying? And I think that kind of mentality, let's shift it from just this small group or small amount of people that were impacted and just try to see if we can make it like a more community-driven focus. Another thing that I think we're doing is trying to bring brighter news to our newscasts. And that goes along with not just covering a murder, but making sure that we have those positive stories in the newscast, because news can be tough. And if you give people a little bit of hope, I think that goes a long way. Even if it's just like a 2-minute long story, that's something that can really, it adds a much needed element to a newscast that can be very heavy.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I watch a newscast sometimes, I'm like, shooting, car wreck, another shoot. I mean, it's like, okay, this 10 minutes of this person was shot here, this person was shot here, this person, okay, we get it. It's like several people were shot. Yes, so sometimes I like to see, okay, and here's some good news. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although it is funny sometimes when a producer doesn't really segue well, they segue from a really serious, sad story to, and here's a kid at a bouncy gym party, and it's like, okay, that's when you go to commercial, then come back with the happy story, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's something that I run into on the weekends. When I'm anchoring and I'm reading shooting after shooting after shooting, it's so easy to almost become desensitized to that, and that's what we don't want. You never want to read the news and just not feel a connection, or like you are disassociating from your community. Right. That's why we all get into this profession, I think, for the most part. A lot of us want to help our community in some way. So if we can, as journalists, work to find ways to develop the story beyond X, Y, and Z happened, I think it really does a lot for us, not just as journalists, but as the people we're trying to serve.
That's good. It's interesting. I'm in St. Louis a couple of times a year because my wife's family is from there. But so I have watched a good amount of St. Louis local news, and I have noticed over the years that St. Louis has a lot fewer live shots than Atlanta does. Atlanta is every reporter is live almost from somewhere during the newscast, whereas St. Louis sometimes on their, I guess, let's see, there'll be like a 9 o'clock and a 10 o'clock news, right? Sometimes there's one reporter that's live, and then there's no other lives, which is, and I don't know, maybe it's just me noticing that and other people wouldn't notice. But sometimes I feel like there's a tendency in Atlanta to be like, we have to be live from somewhere. And I've always been of the school of, yes, that's great if it is important to the story to be live there, or if the reporter's somewhere far out and they couldn't get back in time to be in the studio or whatnot. But the joke is always like, I'm live at 11 in front of this building, which is really dark now, and you can't see anything, but 6 hours ago it was bright out and you could see things and things were happening, but I'm live.
That's so funny you picked up on that. It's hard for me to speak on that one because when I was in St. Louis, I was live every day, Monday through Friday, because I was on the morning show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All the morning reporters, you're always live every half hour, if not more often than every half hour.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I guess there's maybe it's more the night side. Maybe they just, I don't know. And I don't know if that's a conscious. It'd be interesting. I've never really talked to some reporters there to understand kind of, is that a conscious thought to say we don't need to go live at night, or is it just kind of the way it's always been in St. Louis and they're just kind of like, okay, let's just keep doing it this way?
It may be a staffing thing. I say that because if you don't have a photog to shoot your live shot in St. Louis, you're not going live. It's also might be a safety thing.
Yeah.
I know people give Atlanta a lot of flack for being a very crime-ridden city, but I would say that St. Louis is the same, if not worse, especially in some areas. So,
some area, yeah. Yeah, no need. I know the areas you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. So what we talked about entertainment a little in terms of something you like. Are there other topics or areas that you're looking at? I think I'd like to cover that a little bit more. And I know you've got kind of that balance between breaking news that you have to cover and enterprise stories that you're like, okay, I'm pitching this story. I'd like to cover this story, right?
Honestly, I love stories of any kind of genre, I guess you could say. But my favorite stories are ones that involve kids or families. I love kids. I think they're so funny, and sometimes they can be a little shy, but when you get that spunk, that little character out of them, it's just so funny. And a lot of the times when we're doing these stories, like, I'm not trying to be rude or throw shade, but if you're doing a story on like medical things, which, I mean, we've done a lot of medical health stories in the past couple of years, for example, those stories can be a little bit tired, right? Like, how many times have you been watching the news and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to listen to another doctor tell me this medical terminology that I may or may not understand. So when you get a little break from that and you meet an interesting character, it doesn't even have to be a kid at this point. I'm like, if you're a real person and I can relate to you and we have a good conversation, there is nothing better than that. It just makes your day. It really does make my day at least a little bit better. And, I didn't always know I was going to go into journalism. I thought I was going to go into communications because I love talking with people. And so when I started getting more into journalism and I found that, you can still have those connections with folks, it is just the best part of the job for me. It really is.
Yeah, well, and obviously you still get to talk to people a lot, right?
Yeah.
every single day, right? Whether you want to or not.
I'm sorry, I don't even know if I answered your question with that. I think my answer is really just any story that has a good character. That's what I'm always looking for.
Yeah, and obviously got to have a little bit of a visual for TV, right?
Yeah.
I've had clients who had great stories. I'm like, okay, what they want to be on TV with this? What's the visual? Well, I'm going to stand in front of this podium and talk about it. Like, yes, but let's do something more. Mm-hmm. What do you mean? Let's go out to your plant. Let's go out and talk to your people. Let's do that. Oh, we don't want to do that. Okay. Yeah. Let's have your talking head.
It is more work, but like at the end of the day, like, the viewer will notice a difference between those stories, whether they recognize why they notice it or not. So it's worth it. That's for sure.
Well, and we do a lot of training with clients, and we always talk about, for television, you got to think about the visuals. For radio, you got to think about the audio. What is the sound that people hear, and if you can provide some audio or some visual to those kinds of stories, then it makes it more likely the reporter's going to be interested in and makes the story more intriguing. We did a story a couple of years ago with a construction related client, and they were doing this kind of expo with kids learning trades and whatnot. And we had a radio reporter that wanted to come out and do it, and then he got pulled off on something else at the last minute. But he said, "I still want to do the story. We'll just kind of do the interviews over the phone." And he says, "But I need some sound." So he had me go around with my phone and just kind of record the noise of different tools around the expo floor. And I just, set him the files. So we had the sounds of hammering and drills and, all kinds of different kinds of things. And he just kind of wove that into the story, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, I can do that. It was easy to do.
We do try to do that with TV stuff too. We call those the gnat sounds.
Right.
And it really, I've noticed before, if you're kind of like drifting away from a story, the gnat sounds really bring you back in, pull you in, and make it feel like you're in the setting. So
yeah, I mean, if you got some abrupt screeching, hammering sounds, like because you're a lot of times in the evening, the TV's on, they're getting dinner ready, and they kind of hear the anchors talking, and then if you hear like this boom sound, you look up, it's like, oh, what was that? What was that sound? Yeah, because you're not watching, you're listening, and you're kind of sort of watching. Anyway, all right, so. Show me your mug again, because I always like to showcase people's what do people have on their mugs?
It says "Great Day SA."
Is that from San Antonio?
Yeah, Ken's 5. This is my San Antonio station.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I always like to showcase what's on your shelf.
Oh, you're a Star Wars fan.
My Darth Vader bobblehead.
Let's hear your best Darth Vader impression.
Oh gosh, I am your father. How about that?
That was really good. I didn't think you were going to do it.
I'll always add in some Nat sound, right?
Oh, that was good. I like that. I like how you brought it back.
I can do some Yoda too, maybe, if you want.
Oh, that's so funny.
I can't do it. I have to think about it. Okay. All right. So so this is the next question is the really hard question. Okay. Is what's something cool and fun about Savannah that people might not know?
Oh, okay. I have applied. I don't know how cool this is. I've applied to be on a reality TV show twice. Same show. Gotten called back by producers both times. The most recent time was when I accepted this job offer so I couldn't be on the show. But you want to guess what the show was? It's a CBS show. That's why.
Wait. American Ninja.
No, but I'm flattered. Thank you. All
right. Wait. Okay. Master Chef?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna let you tell me now.
All right, Survivor.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I'm obsessed with that show. I love that show. I've been watching since season 1. My parents used to make me run out of the room when they were, doing stuff because it was inappropriate for a child.
I know, because that show's been on for 30 years, right?
I'm obsessed. I still watch it. I think I'm one of the few people who still watch every Wednesday night. But
have you ever watched a show called Alone?
No.
Alone is on.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, we'll talk about that off camera. Okay, all right. So next, this is the lightning round. So you don't have to do long answers, just kind of quick, short answers. So you have the choice of either the last book you've read or the last podcast you've listened to.
Ooh, the Dateline True Crime that came out yesterday. It came out every Tuesday.
All right. Favorite local restaurant?
Del Bar in Inman Park.
Ooh,
amazing!
Yeah, you mentioned that last week. I'm gonna have to check that one out because I looked it up because it looks really good.
Very good.
I love that. I love kind of food that's kind of off the beaten path. Okay, favorite guilty pleasure.
Ooh, I mean, besides reality TV, oh my gosh, I love this. This is lame. I can eat like a whole bag of popcorn in one sitting. Not like the small.
That's not lame. I can do that. Really? That's good. Yeah, like a big giant bag. A little microwave bag, not a big giant bag.
I'm about the big bags. I love popcorn. So yeah.
All right, you got to go check out. There's a place in Kirkwood called Papa-Corn. Okay. Go check it. It's called Papa-Corn, and it's a little shop. It's can't remember what road it's on, but they are like a gourmet popcorn place. Ooh. They have like 20 different kinds of popcorn and all different kinds of candies. Awesome. It's on the corner by the soccer field. Nice. Okay. Favorite local getaway.
How local are we talking?
No, however local you want to be. Georgia.
All right. I went to Savannah, Georgia, maybe 3 months ago or so ago. It was so much fun. Beautiful area. If we're talking about here in actual Atlanta, my local getaway is just the Piedmont Park area. I run around that area all the time,
Okay.
and it's so accessible. Great park.
All right. And favorite non-work hobby?
Running.
Right. Okay. Long distance, short distance, just running.
Yeah,
just running, whatever.
I got into this during the pandemic. People say you can't run away from your problems, but I'll tell you, running is really a form of therapy. It's good. Yeah.
We bought e-bikes during the pandemic, so we're biking away from our problems. Yeah.
Just trying to get away.
Yeah, it's great. You can bike anywhere.
All right.
All right. So we've been talking with Savannah Louie, CBS46. Thank you, Savannah. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks.
And come back every Sunday. Next Sunday. Yeah, I'll be here next Sunday. Going to whitewater rafting on Saturday, but I should be back on Sunday. And then hopefully the Sunday after that. And as always, if you're looking for our database of local journalists, check out our leffsatlantamamedia.com website. And if you're a journalist looking for sources, give me a call or check out our mitchesmediamatch.com site and we will set you up. Have a great day.